Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of The Ultimate Career Leap. Today, my guest is Ngozi Kemjika. Right? Did I say it right?
Yes.
I did. Okay. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And she is a writer, a poet, a speaker, and a life coach. So I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Welcome, welcome. Yes, yes, yes. So wait, let me just confirm we are live everywhere we're supposed to be live.
Yes.
Make sure we're up. Yes, we are live on LinkedIn and we are live on Facebook. Perfect. All right. So introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are and kind of give us your story.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first and foremost, I love that intro that you have for
Thank you.
I love but yes, I am Ngozi Kemjika, and I am a writer, a speaker, and a life coach. A lot of my work combines poetry, content, and experiences such as hosting events and workshops, etc., to help women build more self-confidence, more self-love, and build habits around their self-worth.
Nice, nice, nice. Perfect, perfect. So
Hi, Sydney.
tell everybody how we, yeah. So it's interesting how we met and you became a guest on my show. So
Yeah.
as you all know, I had went to London to go do quarantine before I came here to Curacao. And my original seat on the plane, I was sitting next to this guy and he was traveling with his friend and they had some food and the guy had the bag of food and he's like, "Oh, dude, I got your food." And I'm like, "Wait, does your friend have an aisle seat? Because we can switch and you can sit with your friend." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." So I asked the guy, I'm like, "Do you want to switch?" The guy says, "Yeah." So we switch seats. And as I'm coming around, I was like, "Which seat is yours?" And he tells me the number. He's like, "Next to the beautiful girl up there. That's where I'm sitting."
I didn't know he said that. That's nice.
Yeah. He was like, "The beautiful sis over there. That's where I'm sitting at." I said, "Okay." And we ended up sitting next to each other on this 7-hour flight to London.
Yes. Yes, that's how we met. And then we got chatting, and
Yes.
the rest is history.
That's it. That's right. And so you're still over in London, but you also live in New York.
Yes, I'm typically based in New York, but I'm just out here for a short while. But yeah, I'm usually based in NYC. I'm originally from a city called Liverpool. If any of your American guests are familiar, I don't know if you're familiar, but I'm originally
Mhm.
from a city called Liverpool. My background is Nigerian. I was born and raised in the UK, but my parents were born and raised in Nigeria and came over at 16, 17 and have been here ever since.
Nice, nice. So, what brought you into being a life coach?
Well, actually, do you want the short version of the story or the long version of the story?
You can give us a medium version, somewhere in the middle.
So
Yeah.
I actually studied law, which is ironic because most of African children will kind of tell you that their parents usually want them to be an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor. Maybe a pharmacist is like
Yes.
the least you can be. So I studied law, but I always wanted to be a lawyer since I was a child. And I also used to do a bit of modeling as well. So when I got to law school, I actually also modeled as well. And
Hmm.
my mum was a librarian at the time, and she's been a librarian for 20 years. Well, she was at the time. And so I've always loved writing, reading books. And I used to kind of freelance on the side. So I would do a lot of writing on the side, even though I studied and did the modeling. So I was just really keeping myself busy. And after law school, I decided that that route wasn't for me. So I went on to continue modeling and writing. And then I kind of had a bit of a breakdown, which this is the medium version of the story, because in my growing up, I grew up in basically kind of a racist city at the time. Um, Liverpool, for those of you who don't know, has quite a long-standing history with slavery. It was part of the Atlantic slave trade, so a lot of the city is really built off of slave money. So growing up as a dark-skinned Black girl in the city was pretty difficult. So I was bullied quite a lot. I went on to self-harm, different things that really affected my self-esteem and self-worth. So funnily enough, I obviously became a model, and that did nothing to help my self-esteem. But it was kind of like my big FU to everyone who didn't like feel like I was enough, who didn't feel like I was beautiful. It was my way to say that this is who I am, and I am beautiful, and I am XYZ. But I was operating from a place of fear. So as I continued to model in my mid-20s, I had that breakdown, like I mentioned. And it was during that breakdown that I wrote a book called Before the Butterfly Wakes, which is a book of poetry and prose. So the book was really a chance for me to begin my healing process. So I did a number of things: prayer, therapy, writing, to really start to turn inwards. And after that book really opened up a new world for me. And I began speaking at different events around the topics in the book. It's about self-love, transformation, and healing, and a little bit about my own personal story as well. And as time went on, I realized that I really wanted to help young women like myself who had maybe experienced those things, or even if they hadn't experienced what I'd experienced, they struggle to see their self-worth. So that is why I do what I do today. Yeah, that's a long version of the story. Sorry, not medium.
No, that's okay, but it's a good version, because I mean, honestly, you're gorgeous. So to hear that you had that struggle, I mean, but I get it with all the colorism that there is out there.
Right.
My mom was a dark skinned woman, and I loved her skin. I'm like, every time my face breaks out, I got marks all over my face, and her skin was like so smooth and beautiful to me, and my dad's lighter than me, so I kind of ended up in the middle. But I so it's like, I wish my skin was just a little more like her complexion. But I get that, so it's great that you just, from your experiences, you decided to help other young women, which I know a lot of, like, particularly women of color, who face the different colorism issues, to kind of help boost their self-esteem, help empower them. So that's wonderful. And I know, like, we talked about a couple things on the plane, which is why I was like, I wanted you on the show, because with everything that's going on, people are struggling with some of everything, right? We've got pandemic fatigue, people are missing family, it's not helping a lot of self-worth if your worth was tied to your job and you lost your job, so people are really going through a lot of things, but there are always ways to cope, always ways to still survive and still thrive. And so I figured with your background and, a lot of what you talked about, it would be great to have you on to kind of talk about some of those things of how we can help people stay positive, keep them surviving, and get them to thriving.
Right, which is super important beyond the pandemic anyway.
Right.
But I agree, like everything that you said, people are really struggling right now with mental health. And I really love the fact that mental health has really, like, taken a center stage this year, because it's important in any facet of our lives in order for us to be well and to operate in any area, whether that be career, relationship, whatever. We need to, make sure we are feeding ourselves internally and that we take care of our mental health. And I think especially, everyone's really struggling this year, particularly Black people. It seems like it's something every single week. So I think it's important that we also take the time to really honor our emotions, and to also just enjoy the solitude as well, because there's just so much going on. It's important to enjoy the solitude, and, well, I wouldn't say enjoy, but take time out for yourself to kind of breathe, because there's just so much going on. So yeah, I agree 100%.
Right. Yeah, I'm always a big advocate of self-care. Like, I used to work a lot, basically 7 days a week. And then I got it down to 6 days a week. And then I'm like, you know what, I'm taking both days of the weekend off. I work one weekend a month. And primarily because I have a couple of clients that are in healthcare, and with their schedules, I'm like, you all need that extra time. So I don't mind giving you a few hours on Saturday, 1 month. But the Saturday, I'm like, make sure you take care of yourself, because you're right. As with everything that's going on, the self-care part, taking that time for yourself, especially if you're the caregiver, you're the one running around doing this, doing that, it does take a toll,
Right.
you know?
It does. It does. And then
So
being
what are some
somewhere like,
things oh,
sorry, you cut off a little bit. I was
go
saying
ahead.
being somewhere like New
You
York
know,
City, for example, you need to
okay.
keep your mental health in check like every single day in New York, because it's crazy. So yes, it's important.
Did you have, okay, prior to the pandemic, did you have any like self-care routine, things that you did around the
Oh, you're cutting in
city
and out.
and like go to a museum? Oh, am I? Okay, hold on. We can
Yes.
solve that problem. Okay, is that better?
No.
Is it
Okay,
better?
now
No?
I can see you.
Okay. All right. How about now? Is that better?
Uh, it's a little bit better.
It's a little better? Okay. I moved closer to my router, so hopefully it gets better. So, but the
Okay.
question I had asked was, do you have any self-care routines in New York City prior to the pandemic?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, I think meditation, prayer, exercise, journaling, making sure I keep a gratitude journal on the days that New York is maybe pissing me off. Sorry, I don't know if I can use that language on this live, but I'm sure it's fine. On the days that New York is
Yeah, that's fine.
stressing me out. Um, definitely, definitely gratitude journaling, prayer, church, exercising, making sure I have some time for myself. Even though the city is so fast paced and so go go go. So yeah, just making sure I carve out time for myself to also to reflect, like I mentioned, have that time of solitude, and also to reconnect with my inner child, which I think like a lot of adults miss that. We miss that childlike wonder. And I think it's very important to carve out time to reconnect with your inner child, because in that time you can really speak to your authentic self. So I would say that that's something that is paramount in my self-care routine.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Like I think I'm at an age where I don't even remember what my inner child is like. Like what is that? You know,
I mean, your inner
I've been
child
an
is,
adult for so long now. It's like,
go on,
no,
carry
go
on,
ahead, answer. Like,
sorry.
what's your inner child? No,
Well,
no,
your
I was
inner
gonna
child
say like I just don't even know what would be that.
your inner child is literally you as a child, how you were, like how you were when the world didn't give you any constraints, when no one told you what box to fit in. You were just yourself. You let your imagination run free. You didn't care about anyone else's opinion. You didn't care about what else was going on in the world. You were just your authentic self. So a lot of the times as an adult, we kind of we go away from that because we have to pay bills, we have to find ways to survive, we have to do all these things that the world maybe tells us to do, that we lose that connection with our inner child. But our inner child is what I believe our most authentic self, because we don't have those cares. And in addition to that, a lot of people have sometimes hurt or wounded inner child as well. For example, like I mentioned, I was
Hmm.
bullied in my teenage years. So sometimes those, when you connect to your inner child, it's a way to also say, appreciate and accept the things that they've gone through, but also know to tell them that it's okay, you can move on, or you can react a different way than you did when you were a child. So it's just about recognizing yourself, speaking to yourself, and also moving from a place of imagination and freedom.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because I keep hearing that term lately, and I'm like, what does that mean for people? Because
Mhm.
I never really cared what other people had to say, like from childhood to now. So for me, that one's not a problem. I've always been the one that's like, uh-huh. People know that about me though. They like if you want hardcore truth, they come ask me things. So that part for me is like, okay. By
That part
19, I was
feels
just like, don't bother me.
That part for you is easy,
Yeah,
but you
that's the
can
easy part. That part was the easy, you know.
it's easy. You can still take the other facet though, and just make sure that you have the time out for yourself to do things that bring that joy, bring that childlike excitement. It could be something
Mhm.
as simple as painting. It could be something as simple as running around your back garden with no shoes on. Just something that brings you back that to that childlike wonder and childlike
Mhm.
excitement that everyday life for adults typically we don't make time for. So it's about doing that, because when you move from
Got
that
it. Got
place,
it.
it's easier to reconnect with yourself. So that's like where people come from when they mention the inner child.
Got it. Got it. I think that's a little easier too for people with kids because they also have the child like running around, so they can
Right.
still see it, so
Exactly.
they can remember it a little easier. Like I'm childless, so for me, I'm like, I mean, I still have fun. I still definitely have some wonder, but I don't think to connect it to my inner child anymore, I guess. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. But I also did go through therapy to heal a lot of past wounds too. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's where I lost the disconnect from it. But because I keep, like I said, I keep hearing that term and I think it's a, you know, a good thing, but I just always wondered, what does it mean to people? You know, because sometimes things mean different things to other people. Um,
Yeah,
now I totally forgot my next question. I had a question relating to that too.
that's
Oh,
okay.
so you
Like
mentioned
looking
your
at
book that you wrote that was like
I'll go through.
the prose that you wrote to help you heal through that.
So it's a book of
Tell us a
poetry.
little bit about that. And I'm going to let you hold on. I'm going to let you go full screen for that because I got to just grab my charger.
Okay.
Nope, wrong one.
So I can go. Okay, so the book is called Before the Butterfly Wakes. It's a book of poetry and prose. So it's about 87 poems, and also half of it talks a little bit about my journey from self hate to self love. So the book is really all about self love, healing, transformation, and I share different poems in along that vein. It's available on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble. But like I mentioned, it really birthed, well, catapulted me into the work that I do today. And I don't know where VJ is yet, but that's that's my summation. I will look at some of the comments. Okay. Hi, Sydney. Thank you. Yes, so many of us do need to remember that we have an inner child. I agree. I agree. It's super important. Okay, she's back or not. Now wait for her to come back.
Uh,
All right, here she
okay, there we go.
is.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was listening, but I just, like I said, ran to get the charger so that
That's okay.
it wouldn't go so slow for us.
That's okay.
So what made you? So I'm glad you answered Sydney's questions because it is true about help and heal. So he says, how did you figure out how to tap into your inner child?
Yeah, so for me, it was I basically got to a point where I realized that how I was reacting in a situation really took me back to my teenage self, and the feelings that arose were feelings that were not benefiting me in any way. And then I started to basically reflect on the fact that the way that I operated in most situations in my life was coming from this place of feeling unworthy. And those wounds for me really had developed during my teenage years. So because those things were showing themselves in my adult years, I realized that I had to take responsibility, and really just try and forge a new way if I wanted to live the life that I believe that I was created to live.
It's a great answer.
Answers your question.
That's definitely a great answer. And I like how you phrase that, to live the life that you believe you deserve to live.
Right.
because excuse me, a lot of times people think that they don't deserve to have things.
Exactly.
It's like,
Which
well,
was
I
like,
don't deserve to be happy.
woo, so many people, so many people. That was definitely where I came from as well. And it's interesting because I was always in my family, like my parents really poured like greatness into me, but being in the society that I was in
Mm,
and going out, like it was so difficult to believe that. And I think that as adults, a lot of us are really just trying to reconcile our childhood wounds or reconcile with our childhood in some way. So yeah, it was just really noticing that I was in a pattern, like consistently having the same results because I consistently saw myself as unworthy. And if I didn't begin to
mhm.
start looking into those wounds and start digging into them to try and resolve them, not only would I not be living the life that I was created to live, but I'll be robbing the world of my gifts and I'll be robbing maybe somebody else of theirs because, I believe personally that we're all created for a divine reason. And a lot of the times, really, we're all just vessels and our vision should be bigger than ourselves. So if I am operating from a place that is not my higher self or not on a journey towards being my higher self, then I'm robbing other people of what my work or my gifts may potentially pour into them as well.
Agreed, agreed. I wish more people realize that, right? We hold back our gifts more often than not. And then we envious of the people who unleash theirs. It's like you can do the same thing. The only difference between you and the person you idolized is that they did it in spite of the fear, right? It's like they
Exactly.
wanted to live their best version. They wanted to be that highest version of themselves. And sometimes you just got to start with the want, and then you can
Exactly.
push past the fear. Like it has to be like the thing that drives you instead of the thing that holds you back.
100%.
So
100%.
Sydney said,
You've got to be tired. You got to be tired of your own BS sometimes. And I think it's
yeah.
important to know because a lot of my work kind of meets personal development, meets wellness, meets like mental
Mhm.
health, and maybe not from the mental health side at all. Do I see this, but I definitely see this in the personal development space and those that kind of talk about self-love. And I get really tired of people really talking about it from a sense of like glitter and pink and like it's all gonna be easy. No, the journey is very, very hard. There is moments of course joy. You're living your life. It's an ongoing journey. But also when you want to better yourself, you have to be prepared that you have to go into a dark space as well. And a lot of that requires, it's almost like a process of
Yeah.
grieving, to be honest with you. I went through moments of solitude where people didn't really understand me anymore because I was changing and parts
Mhm.
of me were unraveling. So you have to be willing and prepared to kind of go to those darker sides in order to get to the light. And that's what I really share in my book. And that's what I try and share through my poetry as well. It's super important to know that we're dual creatures. There is darkness, there is light, but we have the ability to rise again. So yeah.
Mhm. Now, tell me the name of your book again. I want to be able to put it up for people to
It's called
find.
Before the Butterfly Wakes. I think I might have like a dusty copy here. Let me probably do. Um, it might be
Dig
oh,
into the
here.
back row.
This is my battered version, but it's called Before the Butterfly Wakes. You
Okay.
can see it here, and yeah, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it in Barnes and
Can they find
Noble.
it on like Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect, perfect. All right, so you guys can see. Can you wait? I don't. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm like, I didn't see the banner come up yet. So you can find that in Barnes and Nobles, and you can find it on Amazon
Mm-hmm.
for the Butterfly Week. Perfect, perfect. Yeah. I mean, it's true. Everything you said, it's like spot on. People understand that process of improving yourself does take you to a darker place to get to the light.
Right.
It is like it basically you had to go into your cocoon and have your metamorphosis to become the butterfly.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. definitely get that. I mean, I did like a personal process um, over the weekend or last week. No, it was over the weekend, and it was the same thing, just like making sure I was still, when you let go, making sure it's completely gone, that jewel of stuff hanging around, or something from your past. Something comes up and it triggers something from your past you thought you let go of, and just really
Mm-hmm.
making sure going through that process that I wasn't blocking myself
Right.
from the things that I desire. So, and it is true. It's like it's a process. And it was like I took some quiet time. I think it was just me and some music and, just had to cleanse it all. But it's like that, getting to that place of self-awareness to know that and not worry about what other people say pretty much. We always get that, oh, but you're changing. Like, yeah, but you should be changing for the better. You should not be the same
Right.
person you were in the second grade. I'm sorry. you know.
Right. Agreed. There's nothing wrong with change as long as it's good change. And yeah, so I agree.
Definitely, definitely. So what are you working on now?
Oh, what am I working on right now? I am actually in about to launch a new coaching program. So that will be launching at the top of 2021. So it's a program that basically helps women to develop new habits around their self-worth and self-love. So I'm currently working on that. And I am also researching a second book, but that's a top-notch secret right now. But I am going to
Okay,
be
okay.
starting a new book. Yeah, so I am in like the conception stages of that, and then just workshops and different speaking engagements, and continuing to just write really. So that's me right now. That's how I'm keeping myself busy and
Nice,
sane. And yeah.
nice. Good. I see we have a comment from Tracy Brooks. Hey, Tracy, thanks for watching. She said, love it. Our
Thank
deepest
you.
fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is we are powerful beyond measure. Marion Williamson poem. So yeah,
True.
that's it. Sometimes we just got to push through that fear to make it
Right.
happen, right? Some people isn't the fear of failure, it's the fear of success.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah. And I apologize that I'm leaving you guys. I'm back inside. I don't have furniture yet. So I'm sitting, I have these little steps when you come into my place. I'm basically sitting like I'm sliding off a pillow, sitting on the steps, trying not to knock out my cord. But this is real. This is as real as it gets. This is what
Real life.
happens when you go live and things. It's real. The Wi-Fi starts acting up and you got to sit next to the router, get closer to it. So that's what happens. So if you see me
Right.
leaning,
If you're in
that's
your
why. Or I
authentic
start
self, you're
sliding,
in
it's
your
because the pillow's sliding. Yes, I'm over here sweating. It's hot. I appreciate this heat. I am not complaining about it. I love it. And actually, if you guys want a story about pushing through fear, I had a fear of being stuck in New York. And that's what drove me here. That's what drove me to go all the way to London to quarantine, to come all the way back over to the Caribbean, was because I feared being stuck more than getting here and living the life that I want. I feared I was going to be stuck because I felt like I've been stuck before. And I was like, that chapter's over. I'm not going to keep moving forward. And so I use that fear to fuel me to just make it happen. Right. When
Mhm.
obstacles come in my life, if I'm determined, they move. I will move mountains. I'm like, I just need a little bit of space to get through the mountain. So sometimes you really do have to look at that fear and say, is it more fearful to not do the thing? Or are you more afraid to be stuck where you are?
Right. Right. And now you're
Thank you,
enjoying the
Tracy.
sun and the good weather.
Yes, I am. I saw a rainbow yesterday. It rained a little bit. Yeah, yay! I love rainbows. So I have a bed. I have a seat outside. I don't care that I don't have any of the furniture yet. I'm happy.
Yeah, 'cause it's the sunshine. Sunshine is all you need.
Yeah, I'll get. That's it. And I got some pillows so my butt don't hurt when I sit on the furniture floor. I'm good to go. That's it. simple things. Sometimes you just have to appreciate the little things in life. And for
Right.
me, it was just getting some pillows to sit on. Yeah.
Funny.
It's the little things. I tell you, it's the little things. And I mean, and I know you left New York, so like you didn't want to be stuck in your apartment by yourself anymore, right? So you said, I'm gonna go home and visit some family.
Yeah, well, I have a brother in New York, but yeah, I was kind of in my apartment during the whole of quarantine, and I was just like, let me come to the UK for a little bit, and basically, I can work from wherever, so it doesn't really bother me in terms of where I am. So yeah, but I definitely do not have the sunshine that you are enjoying, unfortunately. British weather is forever dull. Number one reason why I ran out
Yeah.
of the place. But anyway.
I was happy the one day I was out of quarantine, it was actually sunny in London. I was like, there's sun today. It rained at some point, but we had sun for
And then
like the few little,
never
like
come
3 hours
again.
I was out.
It's so funny that you describe New York as that place though, because for me personally, New York was, and I think we had this conversation on the plane. I can't remember. I know you told me a little bit of how New York was, like years and years ago, and I know how
Yeah.
much it's changed. And I've been in New York, kind of in and out of New York for about 12 years, but New York for me was somewhere where I really came into my own. I really
Mm-hmm.
found my authentic self in New York. So for me, New York always has a special place in my heart. Not that location necessarily defines you in any way, but because I mean, I've lived in Liverpool, I've lived in London, I've lived in New York, and for me, I just felt most free in New York to be myself. So I'm forever grateful for New York for doing that. I've never really felt that like the stuck feeling in New York because I've always just felt free to be myself
Right,
unapologetically.
right. Well, for me, it was different. Like I've lived in New York, Virginia, North Carolina, and here in Curacao. And
Mm-hmm.
I also live in the suburbs of New York. And being in the suburbs is different than being in New York City, right? I'm
Right.
like an hour out of Manhattan. So I didn't want
Right.
to be stuck there. So for me, it was just like I knew my next chapter in my life was I wanted to go live abroad, right? And I've been
Mm-hmm.
coming back and forth to Curacao for 2 years now. I come spend a couple of months, here, or like 2 months, three and a half months. So basically, I'm here now until they throw me out the country. Um, I'm here for like 90 days right now is like my status because I think I was already here for about 60 something days before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to like leave again to reset my clock. I think my clock resets in 2021. So like maybe I'll
Okay.
pop over to Aruba and come back or something. But for me, that stuck feeling was not so much just about being stuck in New York as a location, but being stuck with moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not doing the next thing. And I always knew for this decade of my life, I wanted to travel the world and live abroad.
Right. Right.
So that's where it came from. So let's see, Tracy said stuck in New York, that's a real thing. Yes. And Sydney said, I think a lot of people, when they leave their base, helps them to start to find themselves. I felt the same way
100%.
when I left Texas, free to be who I am and was becoming. Yes.
Right.
And I could say the same when I moved to Virginia and North Carolina, like I was early 20s then. So yeah, yeah, it's true. Like
100%.
whenever you, yeah, like when you leave home, it's just like you just
It's
start to
I really
market.
respect anyone that like moves like on their own or like moves abroad. I
Mhm.
really do respect those people that leave their hometown. Of course, speaking from a place of privilege, because not everybody can do that, but
Mhm.
I really do respect those people to put themselves in like a situation that maybe they don't know. It does force you to either grow or go back home. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely agree with Sydney. And it's definitely seeing different cultures, experiencing different people. I feel like it 100% opens your mind up.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and that's fine if some people don't ever want to leave their hometowns as well. But I think that it's super important. It's definitely been helpful for me to just widen my experiences and mindset.
Right, right. I agree. I think it's like the people that are fortunate enough to go away for college or at least live on campus to get that first taste of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It is like a crucial time to get it. I've definitely seen the difference in people I know that commuted versus the ones that, left or
Mhm.
lived on campus, because they lived far enough away to live on campus. Like, it's definitely a difference.
Right.
It's like it does force you to start to grow a little sooner, because you do get to experience new things. You don't have as many people telling you what to do. It's like the first bit of freedom in your life. But I
Right.
also know there was like a time where, if you look at like my parents' generation, if you look at boomers, a lot of women never had that experience, right? They didn't get to even live by themselves until they were widows or they were divorced. They went
Mhm.
from living at home to being married and living with a husband, so like having that different thing does help.
Right.
Let's see. Tracy said, right, breaking chains, sorry. And Sydney said, yes, different cultural experiences helped me grow. I lived all over and appreciate that I was able to do that at a young age. Yes. And Sydney was also in the army, so he also got to
Oh,
travel
wow.
with me. Yeah. Yeah. So he's the person that did the intro that I played at the beginning.
Oh, I love it, Sydney. I need you to do one of those for me. I don't know what I'm going to need it for, but I need one.
Yeah, could definitely connect with him on he's on Instagram too, and LinkedIn and Facebook. He's everywhere. But definitely. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. If there's anything you want to talk in terms of thriving and surviving right now. I mean, because everything we said, like, it helps you thrive in your life, but it also helps you thrive in your career and your business. Because if you don't have that self-care, you're gonna crumble in either or.
Right. Right.
Yeah, he told me
Thank
to
you for
give
the
you info. Yeah, no problem, City. I'll pass your info on. Um, but yeah, it's like all of this stuff is tied together. If we're not,
Mhm.
we have to be well balanced.
You have
Which
to
is why
be.
when you said you were a life coach, I'm like, that's perfect, because then we can talk about how to help with the balance. And because some people are thriving right now, some people are barely surviving, right?
Right.
And then there's some people in the middle. So,
I
and
mean,
I
that's why you
think,
see like celebrities, like some celebrities, and like for example, they're like none of this stuff that they have actually makes them happy, or some of them like end up killing themselves or whatever, because that you can have all the money in the world. Money is great. I love money. Money loves me, but still, you've got to really take care of that inner being, because if you're not
right,
feeding that, then forget it. Forget it. So that's super important to all of us. We need to stop kind of looking at everything as separate, like your career life, your village, it's all tied in together, so we have to look at it in a holistic way.
right. So, Cineax, being a life coach, how do you tap into what people need to do to move forward and be balanced?
Well, similar to what I was just saying, it's like looking at everything holistically. Like, what are you eating? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are you spending time actually pouring into yourself? Are you doing things that you actually enjoy and love? So I think that just looking at everything holistically is very important to the work that I do. In order to tap into yourself, you need to look at the whole of you. But a lot of this stuff is available in my program, Sydney. If you want to join, then feel free. But yes, I would definitely say holistic is the whole 360.
Right, right. That's true. I think, and that's it's even like, and I like that because I can always refer people to you who need more of that when
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with them on the career side. Because some people just need help more in one area than other, and some people just need everything.
Right,
you
right.
know. And for some people, I've even been like, they're like, oh, I started going to therapy. I'm like, go do a couple of rounds of therapy and then come back to me, because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many limits and beliefs stopping you from believing that you're even worth looking for a new job or
Mm-hmm.
having a career, that I'm like, I need you to start there.
Right,
And so I'm like, and if you're already working with a therapist, that's even better, because that's their specialty. That's not mine. I
right.
stay in my wheelhouse.
Same. Like, people need to also realize with coaching, that's exactly the same. A coach is not a therapist. First of all, coaching is an unregulated industry, so there's a lot of people that call themselves coaches and they may or may not have credentials. That's absolutely fine if that's the route that you decide to take. But a lot of people will use their own experiences. But it's very
Mhm.
important to say that therapy and coaching is two different things. So yeah, I agree with what you say there. I do also advise if people need to kind of see a therapist as well as coaching, fine, or if they need to see a therapist first, because we deal with kind of very separate areas.
Right. Yeah. And it's just understanding what you need. I mean, like I'm definitely more of a strategist. I do more strategy than coaching, but I do both. Because coaching is helping you reach your aha moment, and strategy is like I have my aha moment, but I don't know how to get there.
Right.
So and some clients need a combination. So depending on your needs is kind of like a good way of figuring it out. And I never take on people that I can't handle. Like I'm not one of those, like I'm just gonna say yes to no.
Everyone.
Everybody's not my ideal client.
Right.
And I want to be able to get you results. So, it's just like I had a guy come to me once who wanted to be an actor. You need an acting coach. You don't need me. I can't help you with that. I can point you towards some people, but I can't help you with that. So, or somebody's like, I want to be an artist. I don't really do too many creatives outside of like the technical space. That's more my wheelhouse. But if you're like, I'm a dancer, I'm not your wheelhouse, right? I'll be like, might know somebody you can refer you to.
Right.
Which is why like other coaches know each other, right? Because you need to have a good referral system, make sure people can get the help that they need. And I think that like for me, I think referrals is how I go about the holistic approach. Like whatever is not my wheelhouse, let me forward you over, so this way people can get what they need.
Right.
So
that's why community is so important, and like mentorship and people advocating for you. Because like you said, if you can't do something, you might know somebody who does. So it's very important to have community. And now we're in the digital age that you can make your community anywhere. It can be social media, it can be anywhere. So it's very important to be doing that as you're building. I definitely believe. I have mentors. So yeah, I believe that.
Definitely. And I love that, that you mentioned like how with the internet, you don't have to just have a community that's local to you. It's not just somebody related to you.
Now, COVID era.
Yeah. But it's like you can have people support you that live on the other side of the world, and they might support you harder than the people you live in the same house with.
Exactly.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think too many times people look for support from only a certain type of person or people, not realizing like you're begging for support for people who can't support you the way you want them to, but there are people that support you. Right? It's like if you start a business and your family doesn't buy from you, you feel down. But if you're not selling the product they need, you can't expect that, right? Like I've had people come to me with stuff, like, oh, like I've got this baby product business. I don't have children. And all of my friends have kids that are older than babies. So if there's a baby shower coming up, then yeah, I'll go to you. But like, I am not your target audience at all. I mean, I can share a post that you do. I can like it. Like I can support that way and understand like that's also support, right? But people don't think that. It's always like, oh, but they didn't buy from me. But they're not your target audience.
Right.
So I think it's like understanding like who supports you and how they support you is important in your journey. And how you support yourself. Because if you cheer, like you should be your biggest cheerleader,
Not being so hung up on who supports, if this person isn't supporting you, that, because I'm sure there's other people out there that are supporting you in other ways, like you said. So, and I think we tend to sometimes look at, oh, this friend isn't buying this and I bought this or of theirs or whatever, but we need to look at the picture. Like, that's fine. Look at who is actually supporting you and find your where your audience is.
Right. Like people used to come to me with candles. This is about a decade ago.
I don't do candles with baby products with all these
Wait,
things.
I used to sell candles. I used to make and sell candles.
Okay.
So why would you come to me for like some candle company to buy their candle when I have a house full of wax and wicks and scents and colors? What? I'm like, don't you see the burns on my hands?
Doesn't make sense at all.
Right. And then it'd be like, oh, but you didn't support me. And it's like, I'm not going to buy your paraffin wax candle that I know is crap. And I make better candles. I'm sorry, I'm not. Like, I'm just not. But it's like there's other ways you can support people. So yeah, Sydney said yes, support is something you have to know your demographic. Exactly. Like know who, Yeah, I even did a PSA on my Facebook page one day. Like, I don't know who needs to know this, but please stop inviting me to your parent groups. Your there was like parent groups, a couple of other ones, like your wig groups. I don't wear wigs. I don't have children. Like, I'm not into cars. Like, stop inviting me to all of these groups. Like, I don't want this stuff
Well,
in my
they're
feed.
inviting you because they see something in you. Clearly, you're the plug, maybe. That's why they're
Oh my
inviting you.
goodness. I was like, could y'all stop? I'm like, do you people know me? And my Facebook page is 80% my family. That's what makes it worse. I don't have a ton of strangers on my Facebook page.
Right.
I have 200 and something people, the bulk of which I know in person. So, because they're related to me. Like, that's why I joined Facebook, was for my family. So I don't have just random people from
I'm trying to sell
what,
you.
four, one, two, three, from four schools, five, no, from five schools. I have maybe 20 people. So I don't even have like a ton of old classmates. Like, so y'all should know me.
Oh
I'm
God.
like, okay, but it is
I
what
don't
it is.
I don't do Facebook besides like family stuff, and I'm in some groups, and that's like about it. So
Right, right. I mean, if it's something like if somebody posts in a group that I'm in, it's a group that makes sense to me. I don't just join a bunch of stuff. I'm not a joiner. If it's not aligned with something that's bringing me value, I'm
right,
not joining.
right.
I'm just not. I did my
Alignment
time
with
with the
value.
groups, and I think a lot of us, like, we joined a lot of organizations, especially if you're a person that likes to give back, you're
Mm-hmm.
probably juggling so much stuff right now. You're in 6 different organizations, you're on 14 committees, you have a job, you have a spouse, you have kids, you're a caregiver. Something's got to give at some point. Where is the time for
Right.
you? Like, where's the me time in there? I'm like, you can't give up a committee. You don't need to be on that committee.
Right. Give
The
up a
hell out
committee
of that
if you,
committee.
or if you can't find a committee, wake up 10 minutes earlier and have, or 15 minutes earlier, and do some breathing, do some reading, do something that is just solely for you. Sit in silence for those 15 minutes, but we
Yes.
can make the time. I speak to women that tell me, oh, I don't have time maybe to meditate. I don't have time to do the mirror work that you told me to do. And I'm like, wake up 10 minutes earlier. Like, that's literally it. If you've got time to be on Instagram, if you've got time to check what the shade room is posting, then you can put that 5 minutes into yourself. So it's just about checking yourself and making the time.
Right.
So,
Making you a priority as well.
mm-hmm.
And I think we're just not taught enough to do that. Like if you make yourself a priority, somehow you're selfish.
Right.
Well, if I'm an empty cup, I can't serve from an empty cup.
Right. You can't save yourself and you can't save anyone else.
Right,
I think
right.
we're so like used to just things being on the go or being busy, using like busy in connotation with being productive, but
Mm,
also rest is super important. I had to learn this myself because I'm someone that likes to keep myself busy, but finding time to rest, finding time to just be still, finding time to just do nothing is as important as the productivity.
yes, yes. And like the difference between being productive and being busy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Sydney said that point right there. People need to hear truth instead of nice lies that make them feel good. Yes.
Right.
Definitely,
I get.
definitely. But yeah, I think finding that time, I think we all have that challenge when you like realize, what, I have to prioritize me in here. I have to find time for
Mm-hmm.
self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, that's why I took my weekends back. And when I get a car, because I think I should have a car probably another week or so, I'm probably gonna take Wednesday maybe to go to the beach. Like, take some point on a Wednesday, because they usually don't have that many calls on Wednesdays, and be like, all right, I'm going to spend 2 hours at the beach, and that's my me time,
Mm-hmm.
just for the quiet. Putting, even if it's just like something as simple as having a daytime or morning or nighttime ritual to get that 10 minutes, 15 minutes in
Mm-hmm.
of quiet time. Like, yeah, I mean, you're right. We can find the time. We always say, oh, I'm too busy. And then they're posting all over social media. I
Right.
mean, ladies, let's be realistic. If you're going to get your hair done that day, you got, especially if you're a Black woman, you got 3 to 4 hours right there. You're sitting in the chair, like, listen to some meditations, take a
Right.
nap, like,
Read a
you
book.
got time.
do
you
something.
know?
It's true. It's
And
true.
it doesn't matter what you get. And even if you're like, I'm just gonna go get like a wash and blow dry, it's still 3 hours. You know that.
Right. You've got to
So,
want, you've got to make the time. If you want to see the change, you've got to want the change enough
yes.
to make the time. And that's just it. One of my mentors actually, she always says she finds that people don't really want what they're saying they want enough. Because if you really, really want it, you will make the time. You will eat, sleep, and breathe everything that you really, really want. Pauliana
Yes.
Reed, shout out to her, but she says this all the time, and it's really important. Like she has like 10 vision boards in her room. She takes pictures of. She'll like read her 5 pages of goals every morning to herself, and just her level of discipline. Like you've got to have that kind of discipline. If you really want something, you really need to be disciplined about it.
Sorry if you guys heard all of that. I live along the route to the airport, so all the planes go by here.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. But that's true. Like having that level of discipline. I noticed there was a point in my life for a couple of years, almost every day. No, every day when I went to work, before I would do anything, I would write out my affirmations. If I didn't do it on the train, I did it as soon as I sat down at my desk before I checked my email, anything. And I had like 32 affirmations at the time. And I typed like 90 words a minute. So sometimes it was just, I could just type it really fast in like 2-3 minutes and be done with it. But then I happened to look at my affirmations a couple months ago because I also have them like behind my bedroom door. And I was like, there's about 8 or 9 of these that have come true.
See?
I'm like, well, look at here. This actually worked, and it's just like, I just didn't even realize that like the good stuff that you put in, it's like, wow, that actually came to pass. Okay. I did that. But it's true. Like if you really want it, you'll have the discipline. It's just like if you want to lose weight, you'll go to the gym, you exercise, you change your diet, whatever, like you'll do it. When you don't want to do it,
you won't do it.
You won't do it. Like I don't go to the gym. I hate going to the gym. I just don't like the smell of the gym. Like if you wanted me to exercise, I have no problem with exercising, but I don't want to go to the gym.
Well, you can exercise at home.
And that's what I used to do. I haven't started back yet. I was at one point, I was walking 4 miles a day during when we could go outside during quarantine. I was up to 4 miles a day. So I have to figure out when to walk here because it is really hot.
Well, you got the beach, so you can lay by the ocean, and that can be your self-care ritual.
Yes,
for those
I can swim. Yeah.
So enjoy that for sure.
Definitely. So what ways would you suggest? So you mentioned like journaling. So talk about journaling a little bit because people always like say, oh, you should journal, but maybe people just don't know what that means.
Yeah, so I mean, you can find so many prompts online if you're struggling and you want like maybe one sentence that will maybe ask a question and allow you to just free write. But in terms of my own practice, every morning I will just free write. So I'll just write from the top of my head, whatever comes to mind. I tend to not really go back and read that stuff unless it's maybe like a couple of years down the line, maybe then I might do that. But it's just a chance for me and for anyone else that maybe does it as well to just release any kind of emotions that you're feeling, anything that you may not even know that you are feeling. It's a chance to just get that all down on paper and to just let it go, really. Also, it's very, very good to just keep your brain exercised as well, because we don't really write on paper that much anymore. We tend to do it on our phones. So it's a good way to just keep your brain exercised. And it's just a really great inner work ritual that I enjoy doing. If you don't want to journal, you can also do like a gratitude list. I know there are a lot of like gratitude journals out there. I tend to like write like 1 to 5 things that I'm grateful for, daily as well. Or you can do the affirmations like you said and write those down as well. So but I think it's just one form that people can take. For me, it's super therapeutic and healing. Sorry, that's my niece shouting if you can hear a child in the background. So that's one form, but it doesn't have to be that. You can do many of the different things. You can do simple breath work exercises, simple breathing exercises. You can do prayer. You can do, I mean, that's what I do as well. You can incorporate a number of different things just to make sure that you have that moment for yourself. That's what I would say.
Okay, so hope you guys got that. Take some time for yourself, whether you journal, pray, meditate, woosah, talk to the universe, whatever it is. Just take a couple of minutes in there and say something positive to yourself.
Right.
Because I think
The key thing is to speak to yourself, reconnect with yourself, speak to yourself. Like, your relationship with yourself is so paramount. We get, like, just as you would treat like a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner or your mother and father, you would take care of that relationship. So take care of the relationship with yourself. It is the most important relationship that you'll have. So take care of yourself.
I love that. Take care of the relationship you have with yourself. That is definitely one that people forget, that it is a relationship too.
Right.
Nice, nice, nice. See, this is why I wanted to have her on here. I knew we'd have a great conversation.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you for asking me. And
Yes, definitely.
I have to be more friendly on planes now, because usually I'm like, I mean, I am friendly, but I'm usually like, got a mask on now. I don't want anyone next to me, like, because God knows what anyone's carrying anymore. So I'm like, no. So it's nice to have met
Yes,
lovely
definitely.
flight.
I think because it was so crazy at the beginning of our plane ride. I think that's why we started talking, because it was like, what is going on?
There's a lot going on that flight. Too much.
It was too much. We had a lot of kids running around on our plane, people that wouldn't sit down, people that wouldn't keep their mask on. There was a lot going on our flight. Seeing you eventually went to sleep. I was up during all of it, just like the little boy that was across from us. He was screaming, and he happened to turn, and he saw the look on my face. He was like, I was like, why are you screaming? Kid is like, he was just screaming to be screaming. He was like maybe 3 or 4. Like, he wasn't like upset or anything. He was just screaming, and his mother's not saying a word.
I don't
So I
know
was
what was
like,
going on with that flight,
I
honestly.
don't know.
It was just too much going on.
There was a lot. There was a lot. So yeah. But yeah, usually sometimes I'm the same way. So every now and then I'll sit down and might talk to somebody on the flight, but a lot of times I'm like, okay, I'm tired, And I was still awake then. My flight here, I was just like, I was so tired. I was just trying to sleep. I had 7 kids around me on my flight to
Oh,
Curacao.
wow.
I
Wow.
had one next to me that was always kicking me, so I got kicked for 7 to 9 hours. I was like,
You gotta,
okay, so not much I can do. But so before I forget, this is her website.
yes, simplyingo.com. Connect with me over there. You can find out more about my book. You can find out more about my coaching. You can find out about booking me for any speaking gigs. Yes,
Yes.
go on there. It's all the things. And then on social media, I am at simply_NGO, Ingo.
Yes. And then I don't know if it tags you, but I'll double check. I will make sure she's tagged in this post on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, you can connect with her there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about Facebook. You can find her on LinkedIn and IG. Sorry,
Everybody
Facebook.
on Facebook. That's funny.
It's not that we don't care, but I know you don't spend time there, so I won't send them.
Facebook has its uses, it does,
Yeah,
but I just use it less than the other platforms.
right.
That
See,
way.
I want them to actually be able to reach you. So that's why I pointed them there. So you can definitely find her on either one of those. Do we have any last questions? Sydney said, I'm glad she met you too.
Oh, thank you, Sydney. Sydney's sweet.
Yes. And here we go again. I always got some kind of fly or mosquito flying at me when I'm sitting over here. So if you guys see me looking crazy, that's why. Okay.
So thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed it,
Yes,
and hopefully we can maybe do this again.
definitely, definitely. So I've been going live since December 30th of 2019. I was trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out when my anniversary was, and I had to look it up, and I figured it out. So I might do something in the like as an anniversary, have a bunch of my guests come back on and say hi to everybody or something. So working
Yeah,
on having a little anniversary show because I think it's like 8 or 10 guests now at one time. So I might see if I can get a couple people to come back on.
nice. That'll be cute.
Yes, definitely. And we'll figure out the whole time zone thing. So sorry, you all. My original post.
By then, anyway. You said
Uh,
December.
yeah, well, the East Coast will be back in daylight savings time, but
And
the
I will
time.
physically.
Oh, you'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not
And
sure.
well,
See, I'll keep you posted. But yeah.
yeah, but I think I'll be an hour ahead then because we don't do daylight savings time here. So yeah, but that was fun. You know, it's daylight savings time already hit in the UK. It hasn't hit in other parts of the world.
I don't even know. I'm like, it gets dark at like 4 o'clock now. I'm like, it's not. And then winter lasts
Yeah.
for half the year. So you probably tell I do not like cold weather. So
That's
yeah.
right. You're gonna have to listen when the world opens up and you can travel. You can come visit me here, and it's nothing but sunshine.
Right.
Well, thank you so much again for being on. It was a pleasure having you. What's next week's date? The 3rd, I think. So next or the 2nd. Next week I have Tracy. I can't. I'm a mess up her last name, so I'm not even gonna say it. It starts with a G. But I'm gonna have her on. We'll also be on early because she is based in Ireland right now. So October has been like my month of international guests. Most of my guests have been in Europe. But I have another guest. I have all guests lined up all through November into December even. So we got a great lineup. So stay tuned. And thank you all again for watching. Hope to see you next week. And sparkle bright, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.